As we're reading through the Bible in Joshua chapter 8, remembering the things that happened with Achan and the things that he took from the city of Ai when he shouldn't have taken them, they were devoted to destruction. But then we get to Joshua chapter 8, and we can see all along that it was never God's plan to keep the blessings of the promised land from his people. He was bringing them into this promised land not only to deliver them from Egypt, but to give them their own possession, to take care of them, to provide for them. And when you read in Joshua chapter 8, it says, "And you shall do to Ai and its king as you did to Jericho and its king, only its spoil and its livestock you shall take as plunder for yourselves. Lay ambush against the city behind it." So God was planning on blessing these people with these things, just not with the things that came from Jericho. The very first things were devoted to God. They were devoted to as a burnt offering for him, devoted to destruction is the way that it's described in the book of Joshua. So as we're going through our life, God's blessings have always been there for his people. God has always desired to bless his people. I'm not saying that everybody's going to be healthy, wealthy, and everything's going to be hunky-dory the entire time we're alive on earth. But the blessings that God gives us, if we recognize that those things come from him, then the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to tell him thank you. And that's kind of what's happening here in Joshua chapter 7, 6, 7, and 8 with the things that were devoted to destruction. But as you keep reading through the rest of this chapter, they're going to ultimately defeat the people at Ai. And then Joshua is going to do something that's absolutely incredible. He's going to set up a monument, or he's going to set up an altar, just like Moses said was going to happen in the book of Deuteronomy. They offer burnt offerings on it, and then Joshua inscribes the law on this altar, just like Moses commanded. And then Joshua reads the entire law to everybody that's present. Everyone hears the law read. Everyone hears the law explained. It says, "And afterward he read all the words of the law, the blessings and the curse, according to all that is written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses commanded that Joshua did not read before all the assembly of Israel, the women, the little ones, and the sojourners who lived among them." Because it was God's word. Remember, there's the blessings and the curses. They're associated with their willingness to do, to follow, to obey, to be obedient to God's word. And so everything that God has said through Moses, his servant, is read to the people. Not a word of it is left out. This is the importance that is given to reading God's word, to hearing God's word, to studying God's word in the scriptures. We can see these people studying, hanging on, longing for, rejoicing in hearing God's word throughout the time when Israel is faithful. When Paul wrote to Timothy and told him to pay attention to the public reading of the scriptures, this is the kind of thing that he was talking about. He's not referring, I don't believe, to hearing somebody take a small nugget in a sermon and preach from a sermon. He's not referring to somebody reading a verse or two and then sitting down. He's talking about reading a large portion, a large chunk of God's word. God's word is designed and given to us in a way that we can hear it, we can understand it, we can internalize it, we can meditate on it. God has given us his word knowing that we're going to use it to teach ourselves. We're going to use it to train ourselves for godliness. And so if we would just read God's word more often, every word of it, if we would listen to what God tells us in the scriptures more often, the godly character that our Father is seeking to develop in us will develop. The godly traits, the godly actions, the godly thoughts that our Father is seeking to develop in us will happen because he has designed his word to instruct us. He's designed his word to teach us. And the more time we spend in it, the more time we hear it read publicly, the better, the easier those things are going to become. And so as we're continuing to read through the Bible, and we're in Joshua chapter 8, remember how important hearing God's word is.